John Fetterman said what others avoided. Take a look.
It's now people not even going to show up or doing other kinds of alternative things. And I don't believe, as a Democrat, I think like dancing frogs really moves the ball for us as a party either.
It's been a month since the State of the Union, and Fox News took the opportunity to play a series of clips putting the spotlight on competing events some Democrats participated in, with Senator Fetterman explaining why such an approach could end up backfiring. And today, we're telling you all about it. So, if you believe truth isn't partisan, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Nearly half of the Democrats in Congress skipped the speech last night, boycotting the State of the Union address, and there are the names on the wall. Instead, holding several competing anti-Trump events, including one that was dubbed State of the Swamp with Robert De Niro and Mark Ruffalo and others, and several people wearing what appeared to be frog costumes.
I defy Trump and his authoritarian project by standing in joyful, radical, peaceful resistance with the Portland Frog Brigade.
The state of our union is not strong. It is hanging by a thread.
Donald Trump, the Republicans, have made this country sicker, poorer, and less secure. Sicker, poorer, and less secure.
Donald Trump doesn't owe us a 2-hour rambling speech. He owes the American people their money back.
Now, believe it or not, that was a real counter event organized by Democrats, with nearly half of them skipping the State of the Union altogether. And it wasn't just lawmakers speaking on stage. You had a big anti-Trump names like Robert De Niro, Stacey Abrams, Mark Ruffalo, Jim Acosta, and Mehdi Hasan showing up as well. Now, the reason they wore frog costumes is that the organizers symbolized it as a symbol of peaceful defiance and civic participation. Now, that's ironic, because the same people would probably describe Pepe the Frog as a symbol of white supremacy. Really, you really seriously can't make this stuff up. After playing these clips, Bill turned to Senator Fetterman and asked what he thought about it all. So let's hear what he had to say.
You had about half your colleagues who chose not to go. That was their choice. You chose otherwise. What do you think of the decision they made?
Well, I mean, it's just disappointing, honestly. I mean, I think that's sad that I think half of my colleagues didn't show up. I mean, that's not a judgment, but for me, it's like, so for me, that's, I think show up. You don't have to clap for everything. You don't have to agree with anything. I think we're in a different place right now where it's now people not even going to show up or doing other kinds of alternative things. And then some of them have chosen to just yell and say and scream during all of it. I just don't think that's what we want. And I don't believe, as a Democrat, I think like dancing frogs really moves the ball for us as a party either.
He has a point, especially when it comes to the heckling. Remember how Joe Wilson was censored by the House after shouting, "You lie!" during Obama's 2009 State of the Union address? Now, look at where things stand today. Not only does the heckling happen more often, but the person behind it feels emboldened enough to go on interviews and say that she has no regrets. It seems like with each new generation of lawmakers, we lose the understanding of how members of Congress should conduct themselves. Sure, the landscape changed, and it's all about attention and exposure nowadays. I'd even argue that many of our politicians are in it because they want to become famous and make more money. But this isn't reality television, and these people are responsible for making serious decisions that affect everyone. Bill then asked Fetterman whether he thinks the State of the Union has changed forever, and he made some solid arguments.
Do you think the State of the Union address has changed for good now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now it's, the constant kinds of yelling and screaming and holding up signs and for doing all these things. I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat as a president. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Respect the office, regardless who's in that.
So the New York Times wrote up the following moment as a ploy. That was the way they described it. And this was probably the moment that people will remember. When asked to stand for Americans or illegal immigrants, how the president phrased it last evening, So, Senator, to you, do you consider that a ploy as you look back on that 12 hours later? And if I may, did you sit or did you stand for that moment?
Well, for me, I never checked to see what the rest of people in my party would stand up and clap for. I clapped with a lot of those things that it seemed like others. Like I stood up and I clapped to recognize the family that lost their daughter, the Ukrainian girl that was stabbed to death, in North Carolina. And I stood up and I clapped that political prisoner from Venezuela. How you can't celebrate those kinds of things. And now I also celebrated all the veterans that were in the audience as well, too.
See, this is exactly why some progressive groups in Pennsylvania are, quote, making plans to support a primary challenge to Fetterman when he's up for re-election in 2028, claiming he's sold them out. And the numbers paint a clear picture. One recent poll conducted in Pennsylvania shows that 73% of Republican respondents say they approved of the way Fetterman is handling his job, compared to just 22% of Democrats. That gap doesn't happen by accident. You see, apart from standing or clapping during the State of the Union, John broke ranks with his party on multiple issues, like voting to end the shutdown, criticizing Biden's open border policies, or generally showing willingness to work with Republicans to pass common sense bills. But that kind of approach doesn't play out well on the left nowadays, and he was sure to call it out.
And even more the political things like Erica Kirk. I stood up and I clapped for her as well, too. Now, here, can't we just be more kind to a widow? I mean, we just shouldn't be that long ago that a widow, with young children has her husband murdered, how we can't just acknowledge that as well, too. Wow. Whether white people would attack her, whether the left or the right either. So I'm always going to stand up and clap for things that I agreed with like striking the Iranian, sites now for me. I never worry about who's standing up or clapping. If I see it, I'm going to. If I don't agree with it or whatever, I'm certainly not going to yell and scream and disrupt the whole thing. I'm going to respect the speech. I'm going to respect the event. And I do think we all should, regardless, we can agree to disagree on things and respect that and do some of the things that it's turned into, unfortunately.
See, that's what it all boils down to. And it goes both ways. Some have also heckled Biden during his State of the Union speeches. So if we're not okay with what's happening now, that same standard should apply across the board. Another point is that this event has been a century-long tradition meant to bring some level of unity, even when both sides disagree on policy. Not too long ago, there was even at least a bit of shared sense of direction, even if there were disagreements on how we get there. But with shifting priorities, it's becoming another stage for political theater rather than a moment meant to bring the country together.